Let me start by saying that this session, firstly, is a platform of the board in annual review of the annual performance plan of the organization, which the board has to sign off before submission to the legislature through the executing authority. And as a usual process for the 5-year strategic plan, every year we have these, particularly towards the end of the year, ahead of a board meeting, which is the end of the calendar year board meeting, which will be taking place at the end of this month. The session's purpose really is to look at the previous financial performance plan, particularly the critical initiatives that the board would have highlighted for the annual plan in the past, but also to look at the new context or new planning informants that would have emerged, be it the change in the overall environment or change in the internal organizational environment, which must then inform our way of taking new tasks for the new financial year along the 5-year strategic plan. So this is exactly what the session was about. And I can say that firstly, this was a unique session because we had the attendance not only just by the board members and management, but we also had attendance by the Premier's Advisory team, albeit not all of them, but those that could make it. And this platform is a very interesting platform in the sense that you get insights of various thought leaders across the spectrum of the Eastern Cape. Now added on that, we have the Premier's Advisory coming on board as part of what the Premier pronounced on anchoring strategy and strategy advice at ECSECC. So we receive in this particular platform reflections of the stakeholders or constituencies of ECSECC itself, and now on top of that, insights that came from the Premier's Advisory team member who was part of this physically. They were part of the great inputs that we received. I can say that in terms of the strategic initiatives that the board decided on in the previous financial year, those were reconfirmed as still correct, that we continue to pursue, implement them. And of course, one of the greatest emphasis in the discussion was a need to define what we mean by impact from an ECSECC point of view, knowing that ECSECC is a stakeholder council, firstly, but also it is an applied research institution. And most of what you can compare with classical sector departments in government would not necessarily be the same, because we're not a delivery organization. And that discussion has, however, come with very intelligent proposals in terms of how ECSECC should really frame its work and ensure that it also takes on to build the requisite capacity at the implementing agents or departments where there is such capacity, but also identifying that capacity much more concretely to be able to provide that support. On top of it as well is that we must also, as part of the outcome of the organization, which is outcome 4 of the organization, mature the organization beyond just being the recipient of 8 consecutive clean audit outcomes, which shows good governance, but we must show impact in respect of what we do. And of course, there are debates on that, as I've mentioned, as to how do you measure that impact and how do you see it when concretely you are going to see it through others, and the need therefore to. But the point I want to make is, in terms of us maturing to higher levels in the organization, particularly with the research responsibility, we're a discussion, very profound discussion around the establishment of an Eastern Cape Regional Observatory. When you look at the observatory functions, already it is agreed that ECSECC is performing a couple of those functions, and it might be just a matter of ECSECC now leveraging and syndicating other resources in the space already in the year when we experienced COVID at the first time, we have established relationships with institutions like the CSIR and various other research councils and or institutes, including, of course, a very strong relationship with universities that were helping when we had to deal with the data numbers crunching on the COVID-19 and giving projections of what the COVID will and how it will impact the province. And I'm saying all of those then are experiences that we have gone through, which we now have to pull together in the establishment of the observatory, ensuring collaboration amongst all of these various institutions, from higher education to research councils. And this is exactly what the observatory will then be able to deal with. And remember, a regional observatory must deal with things from your climate to your geo issues, and definitely beyond just only dealing with population data. And definitely these institutes will become quite handy because they have quite a vast years of experience in this regard. And the other discussion issue is about social compacting and bringing all the ECSECC stakeholders together to agree on how the development agenda of the province is actually pursued. And in this regard, a very vibrant discussion around convening of an annual development convention, which should be the platform for setting this agenda, and as well as a platform for assessing the provincial development path. And in this regard, internally we are preparing a state of the province, rather a report which will be a good reflection of, or rather the basis of reflecting at that particular development convention. But the convention itself will have a number of pre-activities which will also be provided research reports on a sectoral basis, and those sectoral engagements will help to also inform what would become the actual accords which should be entered into at the platform of the convention. I think those for me would be the greatest two highlights, and of course there are a number of other propositions that the board members made with respect to other areas of immediate research and agency. Amongst those which I can highlight, for example, is the one on the local government, one of which is about a need for an urgent research and reflection on the revenue base of the different municipalities, and including that which must inform the demarcation of municipalities. And it's of course a report that we will have to look at commissioning and working on and bringing back to the board. But I must say also beyond that, there are other very practical suggestions that have been made, which include suggestions that look at the leadership capacity and development within the different spheres of government, and the type of role that ECSECC should be playing, including its own constituency leadership development, as part of ensuring that there is appropriate compacting on a same level of development across the leadership cohorts that are leading our province. So as the ECSECC Secretariat, we really are looking forward to these very important points that were raised by the board members, which we need to take into action. We had a very good, constructive criticism by the way of the input of the executing authority. Our executing authority is the Premier of the province, and that was dealing with achievements that we have made, congratulating us on those achievements, but also directly raising for us to make consideration and pick up on the establishment of the PMO, incubating the PMO and taking it over to his office. And I must say that was well received, and we believe that there is all the good reasons on his criticism in that regard, and we believe that he has given us a good counsel on that, and we will be picking up and taking that work forward. And I may just say that also we have made quite good strides, though, in that regard. We have established the actual office of the PMO, and we have established the infrastructure in terms of the resources that are needed for the dashboard reporting of the PMO. We are now at the stage where we are busy with one of the basic critical projects in the PMO, which is the ward-based information system. The ward-based information system will be able to tell us what is being done in the province from individual wards in terms of projects in the infrastructure space and even non-infrastructure projects. But also that will be able to be compared with respect to what that work is doing in respect of changing the vulnerability index of those spaces, and but also including ensuring that the impact of the projects that we are or rather are executed by the province are actually able to be reported appropriately. Yes, there is a lot of work that we still need to do. We need to deal with issues of data governance with the provincial partners, because if we are to be this repository of data, we need to be able to have agreement on how we're handling and managing that data and ensuring that everyone is able to deposit their data within the PMO. And I may just say also, we are busy now sending for approval by the provincial leadership a number of important documents. One of such is the standard operating procedures for project management, which we usually call the playbook, and which is going to help the entire government of the province to know how to keep together projects from the basic level of entry in every other project, from ideation to implementation to execution, or all the stages I've made summarize of project down to the actual closeout of projects, and including reporting on the actual outcomes of those projects. And that is going to also help in ensuring that the reporting and monitoring on projects is done on a standardized basis, but also we have the same lenses and windows of looking at how we're progressing with projects. And this is not going to be an easy task, I must say. It requires a lot of change management. It requires a lot of buy-in by the project owners, which are not just a single department. You're talking a different number of departments. So for us, at a portfolio level, then we'll be able to report to leadership as to where these projects are and how they are being executed and what benefits they are creating in those spaces. So the standard operating procedure for project management, we also are piloting and testing it within ourselves as ECSECC, improving our previous project management framework, which was a basic and elementary one. But also we're looking at automating these systems so that reporting and capturing of project information becomes an easy process, and which goes along with also the point I've made about maturing the organization, which includes digital transformation within ECSECC itself as an organization.